Hello, my name is Sebbi, and welcome back to the coffee break in Minecraft. Today is Sunday, September 16th, 2018, and we were just greeted by this pig. Hey, my little pig friend. Hey, don't ignore me. You pushed me around. Now say at least hello to our viewers. Say hello. Come on, say something. Well, alright, the pig said hello, and I can now continue on with the new expedition. Last time we started the next expedition with a goal to explore most zoomed out maps in order to create a super gigantic map wall featuring the... Ooh, apparently there was some terrain generation going on, as we have a tree that is split in half. Do we see more of those features, or is this... That's interesting. Apparently something new was generated here. Maybe that's where this new seagrass and kelp started. This could be a reason. And yeah, we started a new expedition to explore those super large maps, which is super cool. I can't wait to see the final map wall, as... yeah, it's just fantastic. Also, this expedition allows me to see features such as this beautiful waterfall over there. So that's awesome. That's really cool. And I'm super excited about the new expedition. So without any further ado, let's continue on. Let's continue on to explore the coffee break world, and also to talk about research, because some llamas, because last time I started to discuss my latest results from my research, and I think that's really a cool format, because it allows me to discuss all of those things. It allows me to present all those results and my work, and to inform you about what I'm doing, and also to create some kind of explanatory video, so that, oh dear, easy Minecraft here, that contains all my research. I'm a little bit concerned about the performance of Minecraft again, but I really hope we will. Okay. Map is getting updated, very nice. It's also a nice thing. Just imagine having a camp up there. This would be cool. With a waterfall, you can slide down this waterfall to get down, but getting up is probably a little bit difficult. But an outside creature. No, ow. And I wanted to say an outside thing. How's this called? Spawner. That's shoot, I forgot the shield. Of course I forgot the shield. I had to forget the shield. And I dropped the fish, which is also not very good. Alright, let's take those guys out. Ooh, he dodged my arrow. Hey, you. Ow. Alright, yeah, I think it's really a cool format to use Let's Play videos to to use Let's Play videos in order to talk about research, as it's really a great format to Okay, I hope it's really a great thing where you can just have some edutainment going on, like I'm doing here with this problematic skeleton fight. I hope I really disabled the spawner. I don't want to destroy it. I just like to see the contents. Ooh, name tags. Let's grab those name tags. Maybe we can use them later on for something. Gunpowder, pumpkin seeds. I do have pumpkins. You can keep the bones. You can also keep the mushrooms. Do we have something over here? Ooh, another golden apple. Cool. Bread. Do I need bread? Ooh, hi. Let's take the iron, a bane of arthropods. Not really what I need. Yeah, I think the other things can stay here. So, skeleton guys, I wish you, oh dear, I wish you all the best luck, and have fun there. But I'm now out of here. Was nice having met you. All right, finally we can continue on with the research. I think this is really a cool format, as it allows me to present you those information and at the same time to create some kind of entertainment aspect, which makes things way more interesting and probably way more cool. Also, as I'm researching computer games, I can provide audiovisual examples as we go. Last time I explained game mechanics and the two different types of game mechanics, and yeah, we just saw them again. The skeletons were game-bound game mechanics that are created by and controlled by the computer game itself to create the game world and to create challenges for the player. And then we have player-bound game mechanics, such as using my sword or using the bow. And yeah, I can interact with the game world, with the game-bound game mechanics using the player-bound game mechanics, and this creates the gameplay as we just saw. The skeleton fight was a prime example for this. We had a challenge and I had to use my player-bound game mechanics to successfully defeat them. So yeah, this was really cool, and I think last episode was a success. I hope you all agree with that, and yeah, I really think this is a great format, and also allows me then to, after having created those episodes, use them later on for other purposes, or just say, okay, you can also watch this video. Might be a little bit distracting with all those. Oh dear, I hope I can make it. Oh yes. This was interesting. Might be a little bit distracting with all those fights and so on. Oh no, I forgot to just cover the few pixels here on the side. This is bad. I guess I have to walk back again to reveal those pixels on the side of the map. Might be a little bit distracting, but might be also a little bit more entertaining. I don't know. So yeah, last time I also said today we will talk about the Kerbal. Oh dear, Kerbal space program results. And yeah, it begins with the same thing as I discussed last time, and with the same idea I just repeated again with the game mechanics, that I said, okay, you can train new knowledge, or you can train knowledge in general by playing a computer game, and you can encode this knowledge in computer games using game mechanics, because game mechanics are the internal rules of a computer game, and by turning knowledge into game mechanic rules, you basically turn them into, or you can map them to game mechanics, and by periodically executing those game mechanics, you also require to apply the knowledge, and by receiving immediate feedback, you see if your results were correct or not. And this goes along, or this aligns with one definition of optimal learning, which requires an immediate feedback, high motivation to tackle training exercises, a requirement of pre-existing knowledge, which also happens because you have a certain understanding, maybe from a lecture or so, and then you can apply this knowledge. And yeah, also the requirement to repeat knowledge, which also happens because you periodically have to execute game mechanics in order to successfully play the game. So yeah, that's basically the underlying basis. For a Kerbal space program, I used this model I presented last time, the gamified knowledge encoding model, to predict the training effects of Kerbal space program. No surprise, I predicted that it trains knowledge in, or trains orbital mechanics knowledge and knowledge about the ideal rocket equation. When we consider Kerbal space program, we have two integral parts of the gameplay. On the one hand, we have this design phase where you design your spacecraft in the VAB, in the vehicle assembly building, and this basically is a gamification metaphor for the ideal rocket equation. the ideal rocket equation basically figures out or determines the performance of a spacecraft, and it depends on the amount of fuel you have available at the start, or when the spacecraft is full and fueled up, and when it's empty. So it basically checks a little bit the relation between how much fuel you can burn in relation to the entire mass of the spacecraft. And yeah, in the end, you practice this knowledge by assembling your rockets and subsequently launching them, because then you receive feedback about, hey, has this rocket enough performance or not? Sure, there are also other things that play an important role, like, okay, thrust to weight ratio. Does the spacecraft even lift off when you ignite the engines, or will it be stuck at the launch pad because it's way too heavy? So those are other things. But in general, you can train the application and the way you can understand the underlying principles of the ideal rocket equation just by assembling new rockets, designing new rockets, and seeing what happens. And by doing so, you also learn why, if you have a super heavy spacecraft, it requires so much more fuel to get this thing into orbit. And this is basically the tyranny of the ideal rocket equation. So that's super cool. On the other hand, you have the simulation phase, where you can then execute orbital maneuvers by executing burns and changing your orbit and the characteristics of the orbit. So in the end, I predicted by playing the game, by executing those game mechanics, you gain some new knowledge in those two knowledge branches, in those two fields of knowledge. And this was just a theoretical approach. And of course, I had to somehow prove this. Are my assumptions correct or not? Luckily, at my university, we do have a program called Aerospace Informatics. So I approached the professor with the idea, hey, I do have this pretty cool concept. Can we do a study? Can we try out if this is true? Can we see if this is maybe a superior training method or so? And my study had 2 phases. I was super lucky that he agreed, and that I got freshmen who just started their who just started to study at the university. So they had no previous knowledge on orbital mechanics and spaceflight in general. Well, not really in-depth knowledge. And so I was able to have 2 phases for my experiment. The first phase took place before the start of the first lecture, before spaceflight and orbital mechanics and ideal rocket equation, all those things were discussed in the lecture. So they had no pre-existing knowledge from the lecture and from their studies. And I assessed their knowledge, their previous knowledge. So I did a pre-test, post-test design to just see what did they know before playing Kerbal Space Program, then afterwards. This first phase was designed to just see, okay, we don't give them any additional information. They can, of course, use the internet to search for further information, but they are just required to simply play the game, and we will see if things change, if they learn new things by simply playing the game and maybe doing some research on the internet. This phase took place over 2 weeks. So in the first week, I introduced them to the gameplay, and I gave them the first basic goal. So I just gave them 2 goals to provide them with an incentive what they can do with the game. The first goal was, hey, simply reach an orbit, because this is basically what you want to do at first when playing this game. And in the second week, I said, okay, now since you managed to reach orbit, try to get to the moon. So those were their 2 ideas, or their 2 incentives. And the knowledge test was quite simple. I just asked for basic things you can learn by playing Kerbal Space Program, and I designed both tests to be of equal difficulty so that I can compare the results. And yeah, this was the first phase. I got 13 students who volunteered to take part in the study, which was super cool, and they were all super interested. In the first phase, in the initial test, in the pre-test, they had orbital mechanics knowledge, or they got about 43% right of the test. In the post-test, after having played the game for 2 weeks, they got 70% right. So there's a huge, very significant knowledge gain on the side of the students just by playing the game without receiving any additional instruction, or so just doing research on the internet and playing the game, observing the game, receiving immediate feedback from the game. So this was awesome. This is a fantastic result. Such a high knowledge gain within 2 weeks. So this was super cool. Then the second phase was designed to the second phase was designed to align with the traditional class. And during this traditional class, they trained the same thing. I used the traditional class as a control group to see, okay, when I use Kerbal Space Program as a training tool, as an additional tool to practice knowledge, to confirm and validate computational results for solving assignments, is it helpful or not? And yeah, I used the traditional paper-based class as a control group. I aligned my Kerbal Space Program assignments with the progress of the traditional class, so that we do have that it's comparable. And yeah, this took place every other week, so it spanned over 8 weeks in total. 1 week between each session was because this was also in alignment with the traditional class. And on the other hand, if you have played Kerbal Space Program, you know that designing a spacecraft and so on is quite time consuming. It's not possible to do this within 90 minutes if you're not really used to playing the game. So yeah, this was another thing which was quite beneficial, that they had some time between the sessions to continue working on their assignments. The first 2 sessions were targeting delta V calculations, to basically calculate delta V and subsequently build a spacecraft and see if your calculations are correct. Session 3 was mainly about orbital maneuvers, and session 4 dealt with geostationary orbits. So they were required to determine at which altitude is a geostationary orbit, and then launch a spacecraft there, and yeah, just learn about those principles and visualize those principles and validate their computational results. In the second phase, I unfortunately had no significant difference. This means basically the groups were not there. There was no really higher knowledge gain on one side or in one of the groups when comparing the results. And yeah, this was still good, because it shows that if you use Kerbal Space Program, then at least they still learn the same thing. They are still good. However, there was a tendency, as in the final test we wrote, to figure out which group, which training method was more successful. They could achieve in total 30 points, and the Kerbal Space Program group achieved 14 points, where on average, whereas the control group achieved on average only 11.7 points. So there we have maybe a trend indicating that, okay, by using the game you learn more knowledge or better knowledge. Also, the experiment had some few flaws, because there was an additional optional course that was not announced to me before starting the experiment, and also students had to prepare for midterm exams, so they started to vanish over the course of the second phase, which was a little bit sad. And maybe the students who were present until the very end really learned something, whereas the students that left early haven't learned so much. It's hard to say, and in this case, I basically need to repeat this second phase of the experiment to confirm my results and to see if there's maybe really a significant knowledge gain when you use the game. But nevertheless, we had no difference between the training outcomes, and there was even a trend that Kerbal Space Program improves the training effect, so this was cool. I also asked for the joy of use, so I wanted to know, was it more interesting? Was it cooler to play the game, to use the game instead of just using paper-based assignments? And here in the first phase, the students reported that they, of course, enjoyed the Kerbal Space Program class, which is cool. They reported to have learned new facts about orbital mechanics, which of course supports the results of the pre-test post-test design, that not only they really learned new knowledge, they also had the impression, the feeling that they did so, which is good, because when you think, hey, my training method is effective, then you have more trust in it and you continue to use it, which is super important. They also reported to have done own research to have a better performance in the game, to reach orbit, to design effective rockets. So I also, well, as we all know, when we play Kerbal Space Program, I validated the idea that, okay, the game creates incentive to do own research. The game inspires you to do research and to try to learn new facts, which is super cool. This, by the way, is called tangential learning. So in tangential learning, a computer game makes things so interesting that you just think, hey, I want to know more. I want to play this game, or I want to learn more facts about this knowledge that was presented in the game. So yeah, tangential learning is effective for Kerbal Space Program, which is super cool. In phase 2, they reported to have visualized effects about a spaceflight, especially when they were discussed in the lecture and were hard to comprehend. So they used the game to just give it a try to see if this is really true and to understand those principles, which is great. And they also enjoyed the assignments, the Kerbal Space Program assignments, and would like to see Kerbal Space Program in future classes, future training sessions, which is also a great outcome. I mean, it really showed that it's effective, that it increases the motivation. This is also a great thing, especially when you consider, all right, we had no significant difference in the training outcome, but hey, they were more motivated. And this is also a great thing. When you increase the learning quality, then they are more likely to invest more time to really try to understand what is going on there. Oh dear, this is maybe dangerous. And so this is just an awesome outcome. So I was super happy about those results. And in conclusion, I can say that Kerbal Space Program achieves an effective knowledge training. In addition, I can now secure my sleeping spot. I can say that there's a higher learning quality when you play Kerbal Space Program, which is, as I just said, a great outcome. I mean, when you're more motivated, when you really enjoy what you're doing, when you think your training program is effective, then you continue to use it, which is just awesome. As a result of this, Kerbal Space Program represents an effective educational tool, so we can use it to gain new knowledge, and we can use it to practice knowledge presented in the lecture and to foster this knowledge, which is also cool. Finally, my gamified knowledge encoding model is effective to predict the training outcome of a computer game. So after having analyzed and pointed out, okay, by executing these game mechanics and then focusing on the execution of those game mechanics, I achieved the predicted training outcome. So all in all, the entire study was a super success. It proved or validated a little bit the concept of my theoretical model, and it showed how effective Kerbal Space Program is. I mean, they had a super amazing, significant knowledge gain over the course of 2 weeks. They received, they yielded a great training outcome and a higher learning quality. So yeah, those were my results of Kerbal Space Program and the experiment. I hope you found this presentation interesting. I hope it gave you some better insights in what I'm doing. And next time we will talk about affine transformations, linear algebra, and how you can practice matrix multiplication with computer games. So I hope you will join me next time, and I hope you have enjoyed this very episode. In this case, thank you very much for watching. Until next time, my name is Sebbi. See you!